Now listen, don't bug out. The artwork and the deck we're going to be using may be a little questionable, but it's still pretty powerful, and it's still pretty fun. Welcome to Traptrix. Hello folks, I'm the Ghost of the Knife, and welcome back to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. The Duelist Cup came out recently, and it's a little bit more of a serious environment, and I know in a lot of my videos I kind of take a more relaxed approach. I'll play stuff like Demise, or Megaliths, or Incantations, and I just kind of have fun with Yu-Gi-Oh! Because that's just what I want out of it. I want it to be a casual card game. But the Duelist Cup is a little bit more competitive than the latter or just the casual game mode. And in the background, I've been slowly piecing together a deck that is somewhat competitive that I wanted to try and get really good with, because it's a deck that features a type of card that for a 2006 and 2011 Yu-Gi-Oh! Player means a lot to us, and that's Trap Holes. If you've never played 2011 Yu-Gi-Oh! Bottomless Trap Hole was incredibly powerful back then, and knowing that there's a deck that can use this card again and make it viable makes me really happy, and that's one of the big reasons I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Was because I was talking about this with a friend before I got Master Duel, and I was like, yeah, Bottomless was one of my favorite cards, and they're like, there's a deck that makes it viable, and I was like, you know what, say less. So, if you don't know what the archetype that uses Trap Holes is, it's pretty simple. It is an archetype called Traptrix. It is a bunch of plant and insect monsters that are immune to trap hole effects, that can search traps out of your deck and special summon each other to make really powerful XYZ and Link monsters. Now, because of their more control-oriented playstyle, they're not really popular, but another reason they're not popular is, the artistic decisions behind these cards. Yeah, I don't know why they look like little girls in questionable clothing, but here's the ongoing theory that Traptrix fans have in order to make themselves feel more comfortable. The young girl in the picture, which is really hard to say, is not actually there. They are a hallucination created by the bugs and the insects around them to lure in people so that they can eat them. And this is kind of supported by one of their signature cards, which is the Traptrix Hole Nightmares. You can see there are monsters getting thrown inside of giant like Venus flytraps, or being eaten by spiders, and that's just kind of the theme with them. They're not really there, they're just luring them in for the actual Traptrix monsters. And for the sake of my sanity, we're gonna say that they're not really there, and it's just giant bugs using hallucinations. Anyways, to make sure that this intro doesn't go too much longer so we can get right into the games, I'm gonna briefly go over what is in the deck. If you want to see what each of the cards does, feel free to pause and read them, or just watch the games. Most of the cards in the deck are going to be played in the games ahead, so you'll be able to see why they're there as we go along. Without further ado, let's get right into that deck list. Alright, to start our deck, we have 3 Droll and Lockbirds. We have 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Ring. You can't leave home without it in Yu-Gi-Oh! 3 Traptrix Mermelia, which is one of our core cards, which is why we definitely have 3 of. 2 Dionia, which is a nice play expender, but not the most important card in the archetype. 3 Traptrix Mantis, again, a really strong normal summon and a great starter for us. We have 3 Pudikas, another one of our starters. There's quite a few of these that can help us extend immensely by getting us the field spell. We have 2 Arachnicampa. I personally have considered going 3 because I really like drawing this card, but most people run 2, and because I'm trying to do more competitively, we have 2. We have 1 Kumungus, just a really powerful kaiju, and it's on theme with insects and plants, so I was like, yeah, I'll do that. That sounds funny. We have 2 Parallel Exceeds. This is an honorary Traptrix monster because basically one of our big plays is to go into a Link monster, and we can use the Parallel Exceed to go into our Link monster and then one of our big XYZ monsters, which is why we only really need 1 from our deck, which is why we only have 2 in the deck. 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, just a really powerful card, no reason not to have it. 2 Traptrix Garden. Most people play 1, I have 2 just for the comfort's sake. If I lose the first one, at least I can search the second one if I need to. 1 Bottomless Trap Hole, it's just a nice utility card we can search out. 1 Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare. 2 Floodgate Trap Hole, one of the best trap holes in the deck, very powerful. 3 evenly matched. In paper, this is normally a sideboard card, but for us, it's either a go second card if we can pull it off to get rid of our opponent's stuff, or a card we can throw away to one of our big playmakers. 3 infinite impermanences, can't leave home without it. 2 Gravedigger's Trap Hole, the other really good trap hole in our deck, and then 3 Holteas, which we can use our other traps to help special summon this card the turn it's played, so we can go into a lot of our big plays with one of our big boss monsters, which I'm going to go ahead and skip. Is going to be Sarah, which is one of the core cards of the deck. There's a big reason we have 3 of her in the deck. She is a must play 3 of, from what I've heard, and in my opinion, I do agree. 1 Galaria, kind of a niche card, not incredible, but also not bad. 1 Adipus, which is our finisher. We have 1 Abyss Dweller, 2 copies of Rafflesia. We most of the time want to have 2 of these in case something happens to the first one. We have 1 Baguska, a generically good 4 rank that we can very easily make in this deck. 1 Redoer, again just like Baguska and Abyss Dweller, a good 4 rank that's just good with our deck. We have 1 Alamaris, 2 Banquicula, a lot like Rafflesia, just a really good card and a great way to extend stuff and just a great beater. We have 1 Baramet. This card wasn't recommended, but I've heard somebody else say this is decent with the archetype, and it's also a plant, so I was like, why not try it out? If I want to extend to my plays, because sometimes we can get locked into plants and insects, this is a great way to keep playing and have another control option. And then 1 Zeus, because we just have enough XYZ monsters to use Zeus. And that is going to be our deck. It does have a lot of normal summon starters, but with the Traptrix Garden we can actually get out of this need to normal summon very, very easily. So that is the deck list. Let's move on to exactly what you're going to be seeing ahead. So before we get into the games ahead, I wanted to kind of give you a warning that today's video is going to be different from my other ones. Instead of having a lot of live commentary, we're going to be having quite a few replays and only 1 live commentary game. When I was recording these games for this video, I was actually really sick and my throat was bothering me. So I was most of the time whispering or just sniffling a lot, and it just sounded really gross. So I've decided to go back to the few replays that I've gotten with this deck and use those instead. But we do have 1 live commentary game, so you can kind of get my thought process while I play this. And we do have 1 game that should have had live commentary, but it just had really bad audio issues. But it's still a good example of the stuff you can do with Traptrix. So without further ado, let's get right into those replays. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy those games. That would have been really nice last game. Wow, this hand is garbage. This is like a giga brick. Okay. Set 2 pass, hope it works. If we can live through the battle phase, I'll be impressed. Losing my nightmare sucks. Gravediggers would have been really good. I'm sorry, was that a Witch of the Black Forest? Oh my god, it's bestials. Awesome. What in the world? It's an adventure bestial resonator deck. Go ahead and activate this. You don't need no more nonsense. Wow. I'm glad you burned it, because I didn't want to use that nonsense. It's fine. Synchro. Oh, cool. I can use my trap hole on this. Yeah, no thank you. None of that, please. Peace out. You're kidding me. Okay, we can come Us that still, right? I'm not terrible. What other abilities do you have? That was it, okay. See ya. Getting rid of the face down, cool. Okay. Let's try to get something I can play here. That'd be cool. Pudika's good. Yeah, you didn't need that, buddy, right? Okay. Boudica. Have the garden. Attack Sarah for a turn. Like somehow go into Rafflesia, that'd be super cool. But I don't think I can crazily enough. Just don't think I have enough for it. And a graveyard. Ugh, that sucks. Please be a Bestial that you want to activate, dude. Come on, show me a Bestial. I only have Earth monsters that can use a Bestial. You're kidding me. Okay, that's fine. Okay, we're fine, we're fine. Okay, Mermelio's fine here. We can do that, that's really good. Mermelio can get us into Holtea. We can get out of this still. Look at us, the Floodgate, which we're going to use for Holtea here. I'm actually going to go ahead and pick Wiggler. That's the best thing I can do here, actually. Okay. Which allows me to special summon again. We're gonna special summon... we special summoned. Their opponent controls. Oh yeah, we special summoned Kumungus, cool. So we can go right into Pink Wiggler. Go ahead and start getting our beats in. And we're gonna go to Rafflesia too, just to keep them nice and controlled during their turn. And Glickolo will deal with this nonsense. We'll use this. Go ahead. He's done. Okay, yeah. Wow. We actually made it out of that. Alright. So this is the first of 3 replays. Each of these replays isn't that long, so we're going to try not to linger on these too much, but while I can, I'm going to go over what was in my head with the hand I've got and why I did what I did. So, as you can see, we have a pretty interesting opening hand. We have a Holtea, which we can use to extend with infinite impermanence if I feel like getting rid of it, and 2 hand traps that are going to help lock our opponent out of the game, and 1 Myrmelio, which is great for getting more traps to extend into more Holteas. So as you're going to see here with this replay, the most important thing for us is to normal summon a Traptrix, and then they're going to immediately max C, which does kind of hurt our game plan, but I'm immediately going to Ash Blossom that. I want to be able to summon my cards without my opponent's getting too many extra cards off of it, so we're going to go ahead and use Ash Blossom, get that nonsense out of here. We're going to grab our Floodgate Trap Hole. The main reason I did this is because Holtea can be activated the turn she was set if you discard a normal trap, and I don't want to discard Imperm, so I went ahead and grabbed the Floodgate, because I have another one in the deck I can search out if I can get into Rafflesia. For now, though, we're going to be going ahead using Myrmelio to link into our big boss monster, Traptrix Sarah, which is a very important card for the deck. Immediately going to activate Holtea, get him into the Floodgate Trap Hole, and now the Holtea actually activates both of Sarah's effects. As you can see, whenever a normal trap is activated, you can special summon a Traptrix monster, and if a Traptrix monster effect is activated, you can set a normal trap hole directly from the deck. So we activated this, it counts as the normal trap being activated, so we can grab Boudica, which is going to let us go immediately into our other really big boss monster, which is going to be Rafflesia. Rafflesia is going to be giving Sarah protection, as well as giving us the ability to automatically trap hole whatever our opponent is going to do. We have an Imperm, we have a trap, we have all sorts of nonsense. They've used Upstart Goblin to try to draw cards. I'm going to go ahead and use my Troll and Lockbird to stop them from drawing more cards. And we're playing Sky Strikers. They're going to be going into the battle phase, I'm not quite sure why. Using the Harpy's Feather Duster to get rid of our Imperm, because they're like, I just don't want to deal with that. And then they're going to try to go into Sky Striker Mobilized, but unfortunately when they link out their monster, I'm going to go ahead and use Rafflesia to grab the Bottomless Trap Hole, and I'm going to chain Holtea to special summon Myrmelio. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to protect the Rafflesia's Trap Hole effect, so that way I'm going to basically use Holtea to chain block so they can't stop my ability to get rid of their link monster. And also once we get Myrmelio, we can pop their back row, which is exactly how this is going to play out. We're going to use Myrmelio, we're going to special summon Myrmelio, get rid of the back row, get rid of their monster, and we're just going to get more traps thanks to Sarah. So we're going to grab Holtea, which we're going to use on our turn to just keep going into more and more monsters. And at this rate, our opponent just doesn't want to play, because we're going to summon Boudica, they're going to try to max C, but again, I've got Rafflesia. Rafflesia is a trap hole on legs, and we have a card that answers max C that is a trap hole. Its name is Gravedigger's Trap Hole, which is incredibly good against max C. We're going to Gravedigger's Trap Hole, negate their max C so they can't draw any more cards. We are going to go into Adipus and win this game, but my opponent has decided that they've had enough at this point. I have chain blocked Rafflesia, I have denied max C, I have completely shut my opponent out of this game, and with that, my opponent is going to decide to resign. They're just going to be like, I've had enough, I got no cards, you're probably going to OTK me here. And they're more than likely right. We're probably going to get into Adipus and just go for game. Alright, so we're getting into our second of our replays here. And this replay here is actually going to showcase a very powerful aspect of Traptrix. We're going to do normal stuff. Myrmelio into Holtea, link off Myrmelio, go into Sarah, you know, typical Traptrix stuff. But we're going to use Sarah, and then we're going to use the Holtea we searched up to go ahead and get rid of evenly match, play Holtea, get another Traptrix monster, which is going to be Boudica, to get our most standard board we can, which is just going to be Sarah and Rafflesia. A very, very powerful control monster that we just have access to. Now, something's going to happen here, and my opponent's going to do something, and for like the majority of this turn, I'm going to think that Rafflesia's effect is negated. And the reason why is because my opponent is going to activate Infinite Impermanence, which negates the effect of a monster. But as you can clearly read with this card, it is unaffected by trap effects while it has material. I thought it was just trap holes. No, it's all trap effects. So this Infinite Impermanence cannot target Sarah, because Rafflesia gives herself the ability, gives all of your Traptrix monsters the ability to be not targeted by your opponent's card effects unless it's her. So they could try to imperm Sarah here, but they can't because Rafflesia says, no, you have to pay attention to me, and Rafflesia is unaffected by traps. And I'm not going to realize this until later. I'm like, okay, whatever. But fun fact, if your opponent, if Sarah's search effect activates if any normal trap is activated, including your opponent's imperm. So they're going to be going to go into their Hanzo. We are playing ninjas, which is a dangerous deck, but I'm just going to Ash Blossom that. No thank you, you do not get to go further into your deck. We do have a Pudica, but again, I am under the assumption that I can't use Rafflesia. So I'm going to go ahead and activate Rafflesia's effect here. The main reason that I'm doing this is to ditch the Holtea so I can use it from the graveyard to special summon another Traptrix monster. It is here we are going to find out the fun fact that Rafflesia does not care about infinite permanents. We're going to use Graveyarder's Trap Hole, negate their Mantis, and then make them take 2,000 damage. Oh yeah, and we're going to get our Trap Hole Nightmare. And because our opponent can't search anything, they've lost a bunch of health, and we have another Trap Hole down, they're just gonna concede. And the main reason I wanted to showcase this is just to showcase how powerful these XYZ monsters can be. The ability to get around Imperm is incredibly powerful, and again, reading the cards explains the cards, which me and my opponent should have done in this instance. But yeah, that's just the power of Rafflesia once she gets on the board. Okay, so this is going to be the last of our replays that I'm going to be doing commentary of. In hindsight, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that our opponent is playing a hero deck, and out of all three replays, this is going to be the most intensive. Our opponent is going to be establishing a pretty nice board, and we're going to have to do everything in our power to overcome it. As you can see, we have a pretty good Traptrix hand here. Pudica and Myrmelio are really good normal summons, but we do prioritize Pudica because Pudica gives us our field spell, which gives us another normal summon, which is a great way for us to extend our plays. So the idea here is Pudica into Sarah, playing our Garden, playing Holtea, ditching Evenly Matched, playing our Myrmelio, and just making a bunch of really powerful XYZ monsters. Now we're going to go ahead and let the first little bit of this play out here. Everything that I just said is about to happen. We're going to get the Garden, play the Garden, ditch Pudica for Sarah. All normal stuff here so far. I'm going to use Sarah, then I'm going to use Holtea, ditching the Evenly Matched. Now, something important is going to happen here. I'm using Sarah to grab Pudica. From this position, I can make one of two XYZ monsters in my deck, and that's going to be Pinguicula and Rafflesia. Now, if you can't extend off of Pinguicula, the best one to go into is Rafflesia, and because I'm still practicing the deck, I've decided to go into Rafflesia first here. But one of the things Pinguicula can do is you detach material from her, like Holtea, and you can grab another Traptrix monster from your deck into the hand, and we have one that we can special summon if we have other Traptrix monsters on the board. So what I should do here is I should use these two monsters, go into Pinguicula, grab the Arachnacantha, use my normal summon to grab Myrmelio, and then make Rafflesia and Pinguicula. But because I'm learning the deck, I make a big mistake here, and I go into Rafflesia first, which is the wrong thing to do here. Now, in the end, we do kind of get past this, but I just wanted to go ahead and point out my play mistake, just so you guys can see just how important these small decisions can be with this deck. If I just went to Pinguicula, I could have gotten Pinguicula and Rafflesia off and had a very powerful board out. But again, I just didn't see the line of play of the line. So what I'm going to be doing is setting a Floodgate Trap Hole and a Traptrix Holtea, which is a pretty nice board, but my opponent is going to be using the Axe of Fools. Now, in the last game, we saw that Rafflesia is unaffected by trap cards. She is very much affected by spell cards, though. So now her abilities are turned off, which is very devastating. I do not have access to all of my trap holes in my deck. I only have access to Floodgate and Holtea. So I'm going to have to make this count. So I'm going to use Holtea here. Now, you're going to see me using Sarah's search effect here. Now, when I use her search effect, I misread Sarah. Because what happens is you can special summon a Traptrix monster from your deck with a different name than the cards you control. I am going for Myrmelio, but I can't find her because I've got her on board. The plan was to go into Myrmelio and get rid of this Axe of Fools, and if I would have played this line appropriately, I could have gone into Myrmelio and turned off this Axe of Fools and had access to all of my control effects from my deck to stop any of their nonsense. But again, that one misplay, that one wrong decision is going to cost me a lot of control and let my opponent have a lot of breathing room here. So instead we're going to go into Mantis just to establish a board. They're going to draw 2 cards with their talents, which is a very powerful effect, and because I don't want my opponent getting more cards from their deck, I'm going to try and turn them off with Duel and Lockbird. I don't know what my opponent is playing yet here, though. We haven't seen anything other than Talents and Axe of Fools. This is typically a Makonko kind of play, which I've discovered only recently. This is very popular in Makonko, but as you're about to see, we are not playing that. We're playing Heroes. And a Hero Lives doesn't care about Duel and Lockbird. So what I'm going to try to do here is, because Stratos has an on reveal tutor, I'm going to try to turn her off with Floodgate Trap Hole. My opponent is going to go into Mask Change, so they may not get the tutor off of this round of Stratos, but if they bring it back, they can still get it, which is absolutely devastating. So they're going to Mask Change, getting past my one control effect. Now here I'm going to do something really interesting. Last time, in the last replay, I talked about just trying to get the material off of Rafflesia just to get Holtea in the graveyard to have access to that special summon. I'm going to be doing the same thing here, but I'm still going to have the effect negated. Here's how it works. You can activate the effect and pay the cost, which is to get rid of Holtea as a material off of her, but it will still be negated. But like I said, the entire reason I did this is to set up a Holtea into the graveyard. So we're going to lose a Trap Hole here. Doesn't really matter. She gets negated. My opponent's going to Mask Change into Masked Hero, Divine Wind, which is a Floodgate, and gives them access to card draw, which is a very, very, very rough thing. I can only attack with 1 monster as long as this thing lives, and they can attack with as many as they want. So I'm in danger here if they have access to another fusion monster. So I didn't get my Floodgate off, but I do get access to putting out my Gravedigger's Trap Hole, which doesn't help me in this moment. Now, they're going to be using Living Fossil. I'm not quite sure why they use this card in their deck. I guess they just want access to another Reborn effect, but they're going to grab Stratos. But as you can clearly read here, its effect is going to be negated. So they're not going to get the search off a second time, but I don't think they care, because in this moment, they just want the Elements of Hero on board so they can go into Vision Hero, put something in the graveyard, and then of course they have Polymerization in hand. When do they not? And of course they're going to go into Elements of Hero Sunrise, which is a very powerful beater. You can add a Miracle Fusion from your deck to your hand with a special summon, and whenever another hero attacks, you can destroy any card on the board. Now, the prime target for them to destroy is Garden, because Garden gives all of our monsters a once per turn protection from battle destruction. So as long as they destroy the Garden, we're going to start losing our board, and it's going to be very, very hard to come back from this board. They're going to activate their... They activate Sunrise and destroy Mantis? That's right. You saw that right. Now, I'm assuming that in the moment, my opponent just did not read this card, because you're going to see that they're going to attack both of our smaller Traptrix monsters, but they're going to live because the Garden gives each of our Traptrix monsters a once per turn protection from destruction by battle. I'm assuming they didn't read this part of the card. I sure didn't. I thought I was losing all my monsters in this moment, but if they would have gotten rid of this, they could have gotten rid of 2 of my creatures, including Sarah, which is a great way to tutor and extend my plays and really set me back. But again, I made one mistake that cost me a lot of momentum, and my opponent is going to make a bigger mistake. They're going to try to kill Mermelio, just do a bunch of damage, and then they're going to attack Sarah, and Garden's going to activate again and protect Sarah. So yeah, we take a lot of damage, but my board is still very established. They don't have any negates or anything on their cards. As long as I can get rid of their monsters, I'm fine. And I'm going to get rid of Rafflesia and a bunch of other monsters to go into our finisher, Adipus, which increases the attack of our Traptrix monsters. We're going to use Holtea to special summon Mermelio. There's no target for destroy, but I don't care. The entire idea is to go into Holtea, which I can't activate because I already activated one Holtea, but Bottomless has a second effect. Once per turn, you can target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of insect and plant monsters you control, negate their effects, and you can banish normal trap from your graveyard. If you do, destroy one of those targeted cards. So now they have no effects, and I'm going to destroy one of their cards. I'm going to banish Rebellio to resummon Mantis, which at this point just has a bunch of attack. Adipus is going to kill that hero, and then we just have enough damage from there. So even though we probably had no business winning this, and we made a huge mistake on our first turn, we actually capitalized perfectly on our opponent's mistake, and we win the game in style. So the next game you're going to be seeing is going to be a no commentary. There was a lot of audio issues with this. I'm not quite sure what happened, but the music wasn't really right, and I thought I had my mic muted, but I didn't, and there's a lot of sniffling and stuff. So I'm going to be playing a little bit of, I think, like royalty-free music that PlayStation editing allows me to use for that game, and I'm going to let you speed through it, and just to kind of, because the game itself has a lot of, so for the last game you're going to be seeing here, it's going to be, again, drastically different from the rest of these. I apologize. It was supposed to be a replay, but I had too many replays, so I couldn't save anymore. So I was like, okay, it's fine. I'll just take the footage I have, fast forward it to reduce the watch time on it, just so people can see what's going to happen in it, and then they could just have the base audio to accompany them. But apparently, the base audio is also having some really wacky issues. I was picking up all sorts of weird sounds, and it really interrupted the flow of the game. So I'm going to be doing some royalty-free music alongside of it. I'm going to go ahead and give you a spoiler. It is going to be us versus Sky Strikers. And in my opinion, it is a very interesting matchup where a lot of things happen that showcases the kind of back and forth game you can have with Traptrix. Can we beat Sky Strikers? You'll have to find out. After that game, there will be a wrap-up for my thoughts on the deck and just how much fun I had with it. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the last game, Traptrix versus Sky Strikers. Okay, so that was our Traptrix games and the Duelist Cup. What are my thoughts on this deck as a whole? Pretty simple. I personally like the archetype. I can look past the art and just kind of accept them as hallucinations because I really like this playstyle. I like the ability to lock my opponent out of the game with various trap holes. It's got a lot of nostalgia for me, and it's also just really funny to me to do that. I also like the amount of extensions you can get with this deck. It seems like a lot at first, but it's one of the easier decks to understand in my personal experience. Now, if you want to play Traptrix, I will admit that the deck is kind of stuck with a certain... the deck has pretty much been solved. You know what you want in the deck, and customization is rather difficult. The only thing that's really customizable is what kind of trap holes you have outside of Holtea, who is a must-have of 3, and the extra deck is pretty locked in place. The only 2 monsters that you don't need are Calaria, which even then I like her as a comfy Traptrix monster. She's another plant we can summon after we get locked in by Arachnacampa, so that's pretty nice. And also she does give our trap holes a little bit more utility by allowing us to activate them twice, which can be very powerful, and also just gives us more summons to give us a little bit more defenses, or if our opponent can't do anything, gives us a board full of monsters to extend into our big boss monsters and just go for game. The only other monster outside of this that's not mandatory is Baromet. I was just trying it. I didn't even get a chance to truly try it, but it does have synergy with the rest of the deck, so it's worth it. It's worth it if you have it. If you don't, it's not necessary. Zeus, I will say, even though he's very expensive, is pretty necessary. While we didn't get to use him in these games, he is very powerful and very popular for a reason, and we're an XYZ deck. We are an XYZ heavy deck that can very easily go into Zeus, and Zeus is just great at breaking boards, and that's why he's here, to break boards. The core deck here is pretty much locked in place. You want 3 Ash, you want 3 Imperm, you want 3 Holteas, you want 3 Pudikas, you want 3 Mantis, you want 3 Rebellias. The only 2 elves we're using are Dionea and Arachnicampa, and you can easily go into 3 Arachnicampa, in my opinion. Outside of this, you definitely want 2 Exceeds. They're just really, really powerful after we go into Sarah, because they allow us to basically just go into Rafflesia or Penguicula if need be, which can be very, very important for this deck, so that's a mandatory card. Evenly Matched is not mandatory. It's most of the time a sideboard pick in paper. I just have it because I was like, it's a trap that I own, and I think it's a very powerful way to break boards in case we really need to, and if not, it's a fodder card to get rid of for Holtea. So Evenly Matched has a few utility options. You don't need it. You can go into a different trap hole. You could add more of the nightmares if that's just what you have. It's a very powerful card. It's a great trap hole to go into because there's a lot of special summon monsters with effects, and this just goes, nah, you don't get to do that. 2 Gravediggers, it's also one of the better trap holes, so you want at least 2 of these. You want at least 2 Floodgates, but yeah, the trap holes you can use. You can customize your traps, but pretty much you always have 3 Holteas, 3 Imperms, and at least 2 Gravedigger trap holes and Floodgates. So the only other card outside of that in the main deck that I'd say isn't necessary would be like Feather Duster, but Feather Duster's good. It's the reason I run it. And Troll and Lockbird. And in future installments in the deck, I'm probably going to cut back on these because I've been using these a lot lately, and I'm just not happy with it. It's just not doing enough in my experience to warrant as many copies as I do. I'm probably going to cut back to 2 of these and add a second Kummungus, because there's been a few times where I just wish I had another Kummungus to get rid of my opponent's big boss monster that can negate all of my plays, because negates are kind of a weakness to this deck. If they can negate our summons, then we're just kind of dead in the water, because if we can't get our search effect off of our first normal summon, that stops a lot of our tempo. And also just Evenly Matched, as good as the card is in this deck, it's also kryptonite to us. So yeah, even with all of this said, I do still really like this deck. I'm going to revisit this for more of my serious videos when I'm trying to climb, and I'm going to try to refine this till I find a Traptrix deck that I like. So thank you for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you have a wonderful day, folks.